Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we do.
OK. Alors, je voulais juste faire un bienvenue. Bienvenue à toutes et à tous, et merci pour votre participation à ce webinaire. Un grand merci à l'équipe Madar pour l'organisation. L'équipe Madar qui est un peu partout à Kiel, à Édimbourg, dans le Royaume-Uni, et aussi dans les Maghreb, au Maroc, en Tunisie et en Algérie. Donc, je me présente brièvement. Je m'appelle Mariangela Palladino et je suis professeure en études postcoloniales à l'Université de Kiel. Je suis aussi la chercheuse principale du réseau Madar et je co-dirige Madar avec professeur Lola Jeffrey, qui est aussi dans ces webinaires. OK, merci à nos invités experts aujourd'hui qui présenteront sur ces sujets, et encore un merci à Marwa Boneb pour la coordination du séminaire. Donc, je vais juste dire quelques mots à propos de Madar, les Maghreb Action on Displacement and Rights, Madar, et un Network Plus, donc un réseau vise à améliorer la protection humanitaire des personnes déplacées vulnérables en contexte des conflits, surtout dans la région du Maghreb central. Madar est un réseau international, donc, et on travaille avec les universités et ainsi avec la société civile. Et Madar, donc, comprend de partenaires dans des institutions académiques au Royaume-Uni, comme j'ai dit tout à l'heure, et au Maghreb central. Et plus précisément, Kiel University, l'Université d'Édimbourg, l'Université de Manchester, de Liverpool, l'Organisation sur la migration internationale au Maroc, les CREAD en Algérie, les IRMC en Tunisie, et aussi des organisations de la société civile, comme par exemple Racine au Maroc et Notre Culture d'abord en Tunisie. Donc, on est vraiment interdisciplinaire et on se focalise sur les co-développements, l'échange des connaissances et le renforcement des capacités, des recherches et d'actions aussi. Et donc, ces webinaires aussi, c'est vraiment dans l'esprit des co-développements et d'échange des connaissances. On a hâte vraiment d'apprendre beaucoup sur ces sujets. En Madar, on a financé de nombreux projets dans les Maghreb et on est en train d'attendre un peu les résultats, de voir comment ils se développent. Et Madar est un projet qui en fait a commencé les 2019 plutôt, et c'est jusqu'à les 2025. Voilà, donc juste pour conclure, je suis vraiment ravie que Madar organise cet événement aujourd'hui sur la violence de genre, donc gender-based violence, surtout dans les contextes de la migration et avec des perspectives spécifiques du Maghreb. Donc merci encore, j'espère que ce sera une opportunité d'apprendre, d'échange et d'enrichissement pour tout le monde. Et je passe la parole à Marwan. Merci.
Thank you, Mariangela, for this great overview of Madar Network Plus. Welcome everyone once again. I'll be happy to join you and to share this webinar on the 16 Days of Activism on the topic of gender-based violence in the context of migration, perspectives from the Maghreb region. Now it's time to introduce our esteemed speakers. We have basically three panelists from Morocco, Tunisia, and Libya. The first speaker who will be from Morocco, she's called Niabank. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. Niabank Otto. She is originally from South Sudan. She is a human rights activist and intersectional feminist based in Morocco, and she has founded the Collectif des Jeunes Femmes Migrantes Solidaires in 2022, which is an initiative to promote inclusion, resilience, as well as solidarity among migrant women of sub-Saharan origin in Morocco. And she is also committed to the collective emancipation of migrant women so that they can pass from being recipients of assistance to actors capable of demanding their rights. Our second speaker is from Libya. Our second panelist is from Libya. They are supposed to be composed of two people, but basically due to unexpected health issues one of the participants, our colleague Asma. So we are going only to have Amira Marcous from International Detention Coalition from Libya. And I'll just introduce our panel. So basically, Amira is the IDC International Detention Coalition MENA Regional Coordinator, and she's a humanitarian researcher focusing on migration. She has also worked with UNHCR and other international organizations in Libya on humanitarian programs, and later she did her master's on humanitarian action from the University of Geneva, and focused on her research on migration in the region. She then worked with the Mixed Migration Center in North Africa, where she was responsible for collecting data as well as managing a research project on the impact of COVID-19 on EU migration policies in the Mediterranean. Asma, our second panelist from the MENA region, is Asma Hedi Nairi. She is a Tunisian lawyer and researcher and has a PhD in cultural anthropology, and she is based in Turkey. She's, as I said, a lawyer. She has previously worked with several international and regional organizations, including Amnesty International Tunisia and LEA in Turkey. And she also worked with UNHCR and other organizations on livelihood programs for refugees. Her academic work includes acting as a guest lecturer with the African Foundation and Istanbul University, delivering courses related to migration studies, research methodologies, and African studies. And more recently, she conducted research on the African diaspora in Turkey with a focus on the impact of media discourse on community experiences and social integration. Our last speaker is from Tunisia. She is Monia Mahdi from the Tunisian Refugee Council. She's a community-based protection supervisor. And basically, the Tunisian Refugee Council is the implementing partner of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Monia is holding a master's degree in cultural and tourism communication and has been involved in the humanitarian field since 2018, where she gained experience in working with refugees, persons with specific needs, or children at risk of violence or neglect. She basically works directly with communities to leverage their capacities for community-based protection by providing support to community-owned activities to address social, educational, psychosocial, cultural, health, and organizational concerns. Now, just before we kick off our webinar, I just have a few items of housekeeping, and I would like to shed the light on them. First, as you may have noticed, the interpretation from English to French and from French to English is available, and basically you are able to use it whenever you want. You can just select the interpretation channel via the interpretation channel via the interpretation button. The second thing is that the first part of the event will be recorded and will be basically made available online whenever you want to get back to it for reference. And basically, so the question and answers section is not going to be recorded. You can also have the chat box if you want to leave your comments, thoughts, or questions, and we'll be happy to get back to them when the questions and answers sections will begin. Without further ado, we just need to give the floor to our first participant from Morocco, Niabank Otto. So the floor is yours. Over to you. Niabank, if you can hear us. I think for technical issues, she has left the meeting. We will just double check with her. So maybe we can reschedule the participation list. We can maybe start with our colleague Monia, since she's here now. We can start with our colleague Monia. She's going to present the Tunisian Refugee Council and basically all the activities related to gender-based violence activities.
Hello, everybody. Just want first to present myself. I'm Munia Mahdi, working with the Tunisian Refugee Council as a community-based protection supervisor. Currently, we are working in partnership with the UNHCR Tunisia office in refugees protection by providing several services to refugees and asylum seekers residing in Tunisia. Basically, among our services, we could mention case management, psychosocial support, the community-based protection, education, facilitating access and enhancing access to education and health services. Reception also. These are the main activities concerning the sectors of intervention. Among the sectors we are working on is standing against gender-based violence. Thank you, Madar, and thank you, Marwan, for inviting us to participate in this webinar and providing us with the opportunity to provide you with the kind of information of what we are doing. And I think that it will be a good opportunity to enhance networking in relation to gender-based violence. Concerning our intervention in gender-based violence, it's composed of two levels. We are working on the individual level through providing case management and psychosocial support for GBV survivors, and at the community level by developing plans that aims to empower GBV survivors and at the same time prevent from kind of several types of gender-based violence even here in the hosting country. This just kind of briefing on who us and what kind of service we are providing. Marwan, shall I provide you with kind of briefing concerning our plan for the 16 days, or?
Yes, please go ahead. I should also say, I forgot that you have each panelist is having 15 minutes to present whatever they want. You can give us any update or figures, facts, any information related to your activities. So please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Marwan. Concerning the celebration of the 16 days of activism against GBV, as you know, the theme of this year, which is published by UN Women, is Unit Activism to End the Violence Against Women and Girls. But through our intervention and as a CPP department in the Tunisia Refugee Council, we have tried in the preparation step to involve all stakeholders in the identification of our celebration plan. We have made a series of consultation sessions with persons of concern, including men and women, boys and girls, and persons from different nationalities. As we are believing that we have all persons of concern have to be included, have to be engaged and involved in the process of preparing an action plan that comes from them and responds to their needs, and responds also to the current protection risks in the GBV sector. And based on during these consultation sessions, we have identified and made kind of updates to the existing vulnerabilities, capacities also, and the suggestions of the target communities. Also, apart from engaging the community in identifying the plan, we have also consulted CTRD's technical staff. And as I have already mentioned, that we are a multifunctional team composed of different staff who are in relation, be it directly or indirectly, with GBV survivors, providing different services, psychosocial support, case management, health, education, etc. During this session, we have introduced the theme of this year to our colleagues, and we have collected their recommendations as field agents who are in daily contact with the GBV survivors, and also in contact with the key service providers who are standing against gender-based violence. We have also consulted some service providers about their needs, about what they are thinking about action plan that could be held. And based on the collected data, we have made a protection analysis, and we have made an action plan that comes as a fruit of consulting different stakeholders, and we hope that it will respond to some to the existing vulnerabilities. Among the activities we have made, we could mention psychodrama corporal therapy, which was animated by our psychologist colleague, aiming to provide GBV survivors with the opportunities to express oneself through art, release kind of blocked speech, and free oneself from potential blockage resulting from physical, psychological, or sexual violence, to build kind of a new self-image which is more positive than it was. Also, we have made kind of psychosocial intervention training for the GBV, for service providers active in the sector of standing against GBV, including DPE, Child Protection Delegate, including social affairs, l'UNFT, and several actors. It was kind of capacity building for frontliners in terms of psychosocial support and psychological first aid for GBV survivors. These two activities were held basically in Medellin. We have also launched some clubs, basically a club which is led by a woman of concern, an Arabic language club, which give the illiterate and out of school youth and adult girls and women an alternative route to access basic education, and empower female community members to become role models and implementers of such programs that affects vulnerable groups among their communities. Also, it was this community-led initiatives aims also to facilitate the inclusion of non-Arabic speakers within the host community. It's a long list, Marwana. You have to be patient.
As long as you're going to overcome the 15 minutes, go ahead.
Okay, so in GIBS we have conducted awareness raising session on traditional interpretation of masculinity and femininity, kind of therapeutic play workshop targeting basically children of concern, which are boys and girls, adolescent the target group. What else? We have continued our digital campaign, which consists of the campaign Hear Me Too, publishing in an anonymous way some stories and some empowerment messages that are read by GBV survivors and aiming to empower other women that could be made in the same situation, aiming to encourage women to resist, to raise up their voice and defend their rights. Kind of celebration. It's building resilience by providing hope and encouragement to the silent survivors. Rise the host community also is awareness on kind of stereotypes that are happening and stereotypes against GBV survivers. These are the main activities. Some activities were postponed, unfortunately, due to the engagement of other partners within us in the activities, but we will continue the journey. This is the 16 days of activism is an international campaign. It's good to be in the same time raising the same voice to end violence against women, but I strongly believe that it's just kind of it should not be just related to this period. We have to build a more strategic intervention that and prepare kind of remedial plans that could have an impact even at long term to limit, to respond, to not only prevent, but also to respond to gender-based violence, especially that it is highly noted that gender-based violence rate is increasing even among the host community. It becomes more and more harmful. That's why we have to stand against gender-based violence, and you need all our efforts, our capacities, enhance networking, and stand together to end this threat which deprive women from enjoying their basic rights. Thank you very much, colleagues. And
thank you, Monia, for this great overview and presentation of the Tunisian Refugee Council and all your missions and objectives. As you said, it's not only going to be 16 days of activism, it's rather 365 days of activism, because by the end of the time, it's a human rights campaign, and it can be either through ending violence against women, or maybe providing more protection frameworks for children, for other specific people or categories also. Thank you very much once again. We are happy to have your intervention with us. And also, thank you. And we'll also be happy to have the participants' comments or questions as we will get back to them during the Q&A session. Now we are heading over to the second participant, our second panelist. I hope she's with us now. She is not having any technical issues. Nia Bang Otto from Morocco. If she is hearing us, please go ahead. I think she left once again. So basically, we will double check with our colleagues from the IT, and maybe we need to head over now to our colleague Amira Marcous from International Detention Coalition, and her colleague Asma, though unfortunately she's not going she's not able to present for health issues. We hope you get back soon Asma, Amira, now the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, colleagues, for organizing this important event. Allow me just some time to share my screen. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, I do.
Okay, I'm just making it bigger. Can you see now the full screen?
Now, yes.
Yes, okay, great, perfect. So I won't take longer of your time. Marwan has already introduced me. Just to clarify a bit, I will be speaking about exactly migrant women, sorry, migrant women and girls in detention in the Middle East and North Africa region, which is where we're currently working in our organization. Our organization is a coalition of more than 400 members, organizations, groups, and individuals who are also impacted by immigration detention, based in over 100 countries. And our main mission or vision is to end immigration detention for all migrants and refugees and people on the move. Today, we will be speaking specifically about violence against these vulnerable groups, but we want to understand who are we speaking about exactly. So here I'm putting who are migrant and refugee women and girls. I'm putting refugee between brackets because basically I will be using the term migrant because it will be overlooking both terms together. I know that there are differentiations, but for the sake of this event, we will only be using migrant, only referencing refugees where there are statistics or references only made for the particular group of refugee women. So basically, who are women and migrant women that we are speaking about today? They are people that migrate for diverse reasons, from leaving behind poverty, for conflict reasons, climate-related disasters, or even escaping gender inequalities and sexual and gender-based violence, as well as lack of access, livelihoods, and resources. So we see women migrating for various reasons. Sometimes they are unknown to us, but these are like the summary of the main reasons why women migrate. And from the recent study by UN Women, it indicates that migrant women make half of the world's migrant population. So the migrant population all over the world is more than 272 million all over the world, and half of that is women, which is a big number. So now we want to understand why are they more vulnerable than migrant men, let's say. So of course, because of their gender, they are facing more risks during their migration journey and throughout the different stages of their migration journey. So from the time that they leave their homes to crossing to other cities until they reach the border cities, to crossing to another international border, for example, crossing the desert, and then going to Libya, Tunisia, or other North African countries, and then crossing to Europe. So for any person, so for women and girls, it's even worse because of their gender. And of course, this also makes them more at risk of human trafficking, unfortunately. And at the same time, they face discrimination, which impacts their well-being and safety as well. So here we see that gender and migration are interrelated. Gender is an additional vulnerability for women and girls on the move, as well as throughout all their migration journey, as I mentioned before. So since they start the journey from their home, during the transit, and then in the destination, and also when they return back to their home countries. So here we see that gender affects the risks as well as the consequences of human rights abuses and their access to remedies and resolutions of their case within the route of their migration journey. There's a shocking statistic that was shared by UNHCR in 2021, which is that 1 in 5 refugee women or displaced women have faced sexual violence throughout their journey. So this is a huge statistic, and it's only something that should push us further in terms of defending the rights of migrant women and working towards their protection, or at least shedding light on the issues and the conditions that they're going through wherever they are in the world, not just in our region, but globally, they are all facing these abuses and violations. So to understand a bit the context in the MENA region, the region hosts the largest population of refugees. And here the study is particularly about refugees. So we have Lebanon and Jordan, the largest refugee hosting countries worldwide. And then when it comes to other countries in the region, particularly Gulf countries, they are remaining the key countries of attracting high number of migrant workers, specifically those from Asia or from North Africa. So this means that we still have a lot of flows of migrants and refugees coming to the region, while rights are lacking, as we know, and as we will see further in my presentation. And then the current situation of migrant women in MENA, unfortunately, we know women's rights in general are still not at the level or the standard that we aim for in the region. And for migrant women and migrant workers, it's even worse, as well as the return process. So let's say migrant women who have been working in X country in the region will be returned back for overstaying her visa or for any reason. So she will go back to her country through the official process by the government. This process still deprives her of many of her rights, and it still impacts her family relationships, her financial situation, as well as impacting her employment and opportunities in the country, as well as in her home country. And this is still happening in varying degrees, depending on the country that the person is based in. And of course, in some of the countries where we're still facing ongoing conflicts in the region, this has impacts further on the risks faced by migrant and refugee women and girls. And this is, of course, because of state weakness in some of those countries, limited resources, as well as because police, border guards, and all the officials are men, and they are not trained on how to deal with such cases and how to deal with women, particularly with gender-sensitive approaches and policies. And then with regards to the conditions, in general, we know that migrants in detention globally face horrific conditions, including sexual harassment, forced prostitution, psychological and physical violence, which is gender-based violence, as well as the provision of basic needs, especially health and gynecological care, menstrual injustice, and as I mentioned earlier, supervision in official detention centers by the state is mostly by male staff or mixed gender staffing, which doesn't take into consideration the sensitivities of the gender of women. And then specifically when looking at migrant women and girls in detention, the impact is worse for certain groups and identities, especially because of their gender, as I mentioned. So for example, we see that women, girls, gender diverse, and also LGBTI people, they are at further risk of violence and abuse in also official detention centers. And one of the studies that IDC did in 2016, it found that detained LGBTI migrants faced heightened levels of harassment, discrimination, psychological abuse, physical and sexual violence by detention staff, as well as other detainees. And then to move further into our region, just to give a regional overview specifically into what we're facing today. So in some Middle Eastern countries, as well as in Gulf countries, we have the kafala system, which links migrant workers with their employers. So local employers, let's say in Lebanon, Lebanese employers, they have the authority over migrant workers who are brought in from their countries specifically to work in that country, let's say in Lebanon. So whenever there's a dispute between the migrant worker and her employer, what happens is the law usually gives the preference for the Lebanese national or the employer to do whatever they want with their workers. So then if they face any disputes, they may take their passport, they may keep them in detention centers, or even start the return process without their families, which are sometimes in Lebanon and not taken with them, and so on. So here we see that, unfortunately, many migrant workers in Lebanon and in Saudi Arabia end up in detention centers or in return centers where they face violations and various abuses. And there are various reports in Saudi Arabia as well, particularly a recent report showing that there are dozens of Sri Lankan women wrongfully detained for months due to abusive kafala system, which has reported that there have been many violations and abuses during their detention and during the return process back to their home countries. So this is just some few examples out of the Maghreb, but then to move to look further into the situation, for example, in Libya. I mean, I assume that many of you are already aware about the violations and abuses happening across the country in general, and particularly against migrants and migrant women, both in official and unofficial detention centers. So there was one report from Amnesty International showing that refugees and migrants are trapped in a cycle of abuse and extortion. And so many organizations and UN agencies have written about that. And the situations are horrible and inhumane and sometimes even deadly, because those that stay in detention normally have a hard way out, and the process is not clear, and sometimes it's random on who gets detained or who gets to get out of this cycle of abuse within the detention system in the country. Also, to look further into the issue in terms of sexual violence, for example, the issue is well known in Libya, either within the smuggling route and within the migration journey, or also when they reach the official detention centers where they are trapped. That there is a quote here by the UN fact-finding mission in 2022. They said that this is a known risk of sexual violence in Libya, that some migrant women and girls get fitted with a contraceptive implant before traveling to Libya to avoid unwanted pregnancy due to such violence, which is a huge issue that we're facing in Libya. Sometimes it goes unreported, but there are so many cases of women inside detention centers that get raped and also get unwanted pregnancies, and they have no way out of being protected, basically. And just to give you an overview now about what's happening in terms of protection, of course, there are so many programs in Libya by international organizations and UN agencies. Basically, the key programs are focusing on getting migrants and refugees out of the country because it's considered unsafe to keep them in Libya. But of course, there is limited capacity, limited resources on that. For example, there is the voluntary repatriation program by IOM, which has managed to repatriate more than 60,000 migrants since 2015. So those have been returned back to their countries of origin, mostly across Africa and Asia. And then there is the resettlement program, which UNHCR coordinates with third countries such as European countries, the US, Australia, Canada, and others. The idea is to get the most vulnerable refugee nationalities out of Libya in order to get a permanent refugee status in other countries where they would get assistance and have a better life, of course. And within detention centers, there are ongoing programs in terms of providing medical assistance, regular checkups by international organizations, as well as life-saving support whenever migrants and refugees are intercepted by sea and are taken back to Libyan shores by the Libyan Coast Guards. So international organizations and UN agencies are present there to provide life-saving support to those groups. And also the provision of non-food items, cash support, as well as other assistance, specifically for vulnerable refugees and migrants and women in particular. To wrap up, I just put some recommendations to what we can do to further the protection of migrant women and girls from violence. First, it's important to conduct more research and share evidence on their situation, because this is still lacking across most countries in the region. And it's important to use that and to raise awareness on the issues being faced by migrant women and girls throughout their journey, as well as within detention centers, and also to advocate for practical measures to end discrimination, exploitation, and abuse of migrant women and girls, and to work with authorities to develop gender-sensitive policies that can protect migrant women and girls. At the same time, it's important to ensure gender-specific assistance is provided for migrant women and girls, including health and reproductive assistance throughout their journeys. And finally, which is also very crucial, access to information. It's important to work together as activists, civil society, international organizations, as well as with governments, to ensure that migrant women have access to information during their migration journey since the time they leave their countries in the language that they understand. They need to have enough information about the situation ahead of them, as well as where to seek for help, where to find assistance, and so on. So this is currently the situation, what we're lacking, and what I wanted to shed light on in order to hopefully inspire other civil society organizations in other countries in order to move forward with this, and not only for this period of the event, but also throughout all our work as activists and advocates on the issue. And that's it from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amira, for this great presentation and for presenting also your organization and mission and objectives. We are really happy to have you among the panelists, because basically, not only because you are representing the Libyan context, which is very problematic, let's say, in the Maghreb, but also because you are shedding the light on very specific category of people, those who are in detention, because basically we are always talking about those who come to the offices of the organizations, let's say, and knock the doors and seek for assistance. And basically we are able to help them in a direct or indirect manner. But here you are talking about those who are in detention centers, whether officially or in unofficial detention centers. And basically they are left in a more vulnerable situation. I think from my side, I have a few questions to ask you then in the question and answers section, and then and maybe other participants can join us in this section. Thank you very much once again. And now we will leave the floor for our colleague Nia Bank from Morocco to represent her organization and give us a brief overview of the activities they are doing. So Nia Bank, the floor is yours.
Hello, Marwan. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for this opportunity. And I also want to thank Madarak Network for organizing this visual conference. And I'm also sorry for the technical problem, but now I guess we can continue. Okay, let me just share my screen for you with you guys. Okay. Okay, so hi once again. I'm gonna introduce myself. My name is Niabank Oto. I live in Rabat, Morocco, and I am the founder of the Association of Jeunes Femmes Migrantes Solidaires in Morocco, which is basically a small association for dedicated to feminist migrant women who are living here in Morocco for several objectives. We work essentially we work with mental health of we work to sorry, can you hear me? Okay, excuse me for that. So I was saying, like, we created our association essentially to accompany these migrant women during their installation here in Morocco, and focus on their mental health and their capacity buildings, as well as empowerment. And we also we do advocacy work through workshops of capacity buildings, and also art, and also media as a way to advocate and also to reduce stigmatization and stereotypes that surround migrant women, basically from sub-Saharan origins. So now my intervention, I'm going to talk about the gender-based violence in the context of migration with a perspective from Maghreb region in Morocco. So I think it's first of all, it's very essential to talk to give just key facts about the context of migrant and migration in terms of policy and laws that were established here in Morocco. So we already know that Morocco has become a country of immigration, transit, and now it's a country of settlement for thousands of immigrants, especially from sub-Saharan regions, as well as French migrant and from other different nationalities. And it's very important to share with you one information. In 2014, according to the High Commission for Planning, the Moroccan High Commission for Planning, the number of migrants living in Morocco does not exceed 84,000 persons, estimated 33 millions, of which more than quarter of this migrant population is not sub-Saharan, but French migrants. In addition, among this migrant population, there are various profiles and categories of migrants, such as students, migrant workers, refugees, asylum seekers, unaccompanied minors, and so on. Why it's so important, this information? Because there is a lot of this stigmatization here in Morocco, that all the sub-Saharan migrants are here to go to the other part, to other countries, like to the other side of the Mediterranean, which is not quite right. Also, it's very important to talk about the laws that established by Moroccan authority in terms of migration, and we can mention two strongest point of this the new law that called the SNIA, the Strategy of Immigration and Asylum Seeker in Morocco, that was established in 2014, which gave the opportunity for to two kind of operation of regularization. First regularization operation, which took place on December 2014 and 2015, in which 23,000 migrants from different nationalities have been granted their carte séjour or residence card, which 44% were women and 56% were men and 9% were minors. On the other hand, second regularization took place on 2016 and 17, which approximately 28,000 migrants have been regularized. The total result of the two regularization operations is estimated about 50,000 regularized migrants, which means 50,000 migrants were in administrative irregular situation have been granted a resident card. Now we're gonna pass to, I'm going to give an overview of a gender-based violence regarding sub-Saharan women, specifically in Morocco, because this is the profile that we work with in the majority of time. So we have some key facts. Just allow me to introduce, or just to define violence in general. So violence against women in migration or mobility is systematic and structural, anchored in different dynamics, such as the reasons of their departure, the migratory the migratory journey, migration policy, and the socio-economic aspect that contribute in the marginalization of migrant women, as well as prevent the development of adequate form of protection. However, the COVID-19 pandemic has made the situation of migrant women more precarious and vulnerable. Different organizations even speak about double pandemic with the increase of with the increase in cases of violence against women. Violence affects women regardless of their age, their social background, particularly when they do not benefit from an appropriate community and legal support system. Violence takes various forms, from the most visible to the most indirect, and fits into each other to make women even more vulnerable. Now I'm gonna just give a very, like in a very briefly way, just facts and examples about how migrant women from sub-Saharan background or sub-Saharan nationalities are affected. So we have like education of migrant children. Actually, I don't think we can speak about migrant women without speaking about their children, because if a migrant woman is in a very difficult situation, that will affect directly her child. And also I'm gonna give like a few examples of the difficulties or the limits of access to health services for these migrant women, and also the limited or lack of access and protection of domestic workers, and also some racist and xenophobic behaviors. So all the example that I'm going to provide is based on reality and testimony of some migrants who live in some regions like Rabat and Casablanca here in Morocco. So, excuse me?
Just to interrupt you, sorry. Just to let you know
Yeah.
that you still have 5 minutes to present your slides, please.
Okay,
so that we
okay.
can, so we can have enough time for the discussion, please.
Okay, so about the limited, in general, we can say it's just like one of the most obstacle that migrant women face in Morocco is the renewal of their residence card that can block all the administrative procedures. For example, like we have, according to statistic of the ministry, MRO, the ministry in charge of Moroccan residing abroad and migration affairs, like we have like 7,418 of migrant children and refugees who were integrated into Moroccan public schools. And also like we have in 2017, 2018, like several of projects or of process that allowed these migrant children to integrate to the Moroccan educational system, like 315 of migrant children benefited from the educational support, and some of them they were enrolled in primary school, and also others received classes, and some of them received informal education. Now the inconvenience of the access of this, all the difficulties, the obstacles of migrant children to have access to education in Morocco, because we have like some difficulties like required documents and also registration fees, which some migrants cannot afford that, and also lack of support, establishment of some of apatrid, if I can say that, because some of children, they feel like rejected and isolated. And also we have some administrative problems, like according to a lot of civil right defenders in Morocco, they said that there is a gaps in the circulation of information between the different administrative department regarding circulars which was established by the Moroccan government, issued by the supervisory ministry, which related to the integration, reception, and support of migrant children. Also, there is a lack of data of on the number of migrant children attending school in different cities, as well as figures and estimations giving visibility on the different nationalities of migrant children. So sorry, Marwan. Okay, let me just go to limited access to and protection for migrant women, domestic workers. I guess in general, there is some inconvenience between the law and the practice in reality, because the law is there, but the problem is many of professionals who work in the public establishments or public department, they're not well formed, they're not well educated concerning the migrant situation in general. So a lot of migrant women have problems in like just guaranteeing their rights, and also their rights. Like we have this example in case of migrant women worker, according to the report by one of association published in 2016, denounced the discrimination, human rights violation, and violence suffered by some sub-Saharan domestic workers. Also, we have concerning some racist and xenophobic behaviors, some migrant women on the reality, or in the reality, they say that they face a lot of racist behavior from, for example, if one migrant woman got pregnant and she wants to go to a public hospital, she would get asked about, her marital situation, if she's single. And we know that, like, Morocco is an Islamic country and conservative, and they have a law that like the law number 419 that criminalize sexual relationship out of marriage, and also, like, at the same time, Morocco established another law that protect or just afford protection to women in general, which is the law 103, that gives opportunity to women to come and denounce in case of any kind of violence. But some of these women are very afraid to go forward and get justice, or just to even speak about in case they got raped, or they got raped, or any kind of physical violence from their partner, or just another person in the community, because they don't have enough awareness about how the Moroccan law work exactly, because we have these two contradictory laws. In this case, another example, according to the Organization of Migrant Workers in Morocco, since 2000 in 18, 2/4 of the same migrant who have who've been regularized back in the 2 operations. Now after the period of 2018, they facing a lot of problems to get their residence card renewed because of reasons that are not really clear. And also, according to the same resource, the situation the situation of renewing the residence card of migrant women, domestic workers especially, is more complicated because of lack of declaration of domestic workers, which ultimately affects the problem of education of their children. So it's pretty much the presentation. Thank you, Marwan.
Thank you, Niabak, for this great presentation. We are happy to have you among our panelists to represent the Moroccan context. And as you said, as you have mentioned, basically the burden is shared among all the Maghreb countries in terms of acting against gender-based violence, whether in Tunisia, Morocco, Libya, and even maybe I can assume that it's the same case as in Algeria. Now it's time for discussion and questions. If you have any questions, please feel free. You can use the raise hand function in Zoom, and then you will be called up upon Inter to speak and share your comments and if you have any thoughts or reflections. Maybe if you allow me, if I can start this section. I just have a few questions, one for Munia and one for Amira. My question to Munia is about the action plan that you have mentioned.